I solemnly affirm that the testimony I give today will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God.
I do.
Jack Abramoff had all the tools in the lobby toolbox.
He was the #1 lobbyist in Washington.
Jack Abramoff was really smart. Maybe he was too smart for his own good.
Abramoff has admitted to bribing as many as 20 members of Congress.
Campaign contributions for legislation.
Now, was it a quid pro quo? I guess you can call it that.
All of a sudden, nobody remembered Jack.
I frankly don't even remember having my picture taken with the guy. I don't know him.
Of course Bush knew him. Absolutely. He was the money guy.
Just another day at the office.
We've lost sight of what Congress is for.
People are willing to risk their careers for $25,000 or a golf trip.
Abramoff couldn't have flourished if this system itself was not corrupt.
But the best way to get a congressional office to do his bidding, he says, was to offer a staffer a job that could triple his salary.
When we would become friendly with an office and they were important to us, and the chief of staff was a competent person, I would say, or my staff would say to him or her at some point, you know, when you're done working on the Hill, we'd very much like you to consider coming to work for us. Now, the moment I said that to them, or any of our staff said that to them, that was it. We owned them. And what does that mean? Every request from our office, every request of our clients, everything that we want, they're going to do. And not only that, they're going to think of things we can't think of to do.
One of the offices he keyed on was that of his good friend, the Majority Leader Tom DeLay, eventually hiring his deputy chief of staff and his press secretary and going into business with DeLay's chief of staff. Did you own his staff?
I was as close to his staff as to any staff. I had a very strong personal relationship with a lot of his staff.
How many congressional offices did you actually own?
We probably had very strong influence in 100 offices at a time.
Come on.
No.
100 offices?
In those days, I would view that as a failure, because at least 335 offices that we didn't have. So what we did was we crafted language that was so obscure, so confusing, so uninformative, but so precise to change the U.S. Code.
Here's what you tried to get tacked on to this reform bill.
Yeah.
Public Law 100-89 is amended by striking Section 207, paren, 101 stat, period, 668, 672, close paren.
Right. Now, isn't that obvious what that means? It was perfect. It was perfect.
So that's what you tried to get inserted.
Yes.
And that was going to provide for a casino.
Yes.
And who on earth is going to know that?
No one except the chairman of the committees.
Who stuck it in there?
Yes.
And that's one of the things you used to do.
Yes.
And it was deliberately written like that.
Precisely. Yes.
And that's done a lot.
Members don't read the bills.
You didn't even know what it was for.
Had no idea. And then when we got the written language...
Why didn't you know what it was for? That
I didn't care.
In D.C. that they don't believe in family values, because to become part of this aristocracy, oftentimes the best way to do it is either to marry into it or to be born into it. And it's remarkable how many members of Congress have family members who are registered lobbyists. So consider, for example, Congressman Bill Young from Florida, who's been in office since 1971. He's the head of a very powerful subcommittee that controls spending on defense. He has a daughter-in-law who's a registered lobbyist. Since 2000, she has lobbied on one issue and done so very successfully. It's, as you would probably guess, on defense spending. Or consider the case of Senator Harry Reid, the majority leader, Democrat from Nevada. He actually has several family members who have been registered lobbyists. He has a son who has lobbied on behalf of several groups and secured $50 million in earmarks. He also has another son who's involved in a $5 billion venture involving a Chinese effort to develop an energy project in the desert of Nevada. In that particular case, the majority leader took a personal interest and helped to push it through. So just remember, when you see the professional wrestling in Washington, D.C., it's not so much red and blue, it's really green, the color that really matters.
What kind of thing do you think is going on that is criminal in your mind?
Well, whether it's criminal now or it should be criminal, maybe is the question. There are things that are not technically against the law because the law is made by Congress, and Congress has interest in keeping many of the rules basically the same. When they'll change a rule, they'll say that instead of feeding a congressman a meal, he can't be sitting down, he has to be standing up, or he has to use his fingers instead of a fork or something ridiculous like that. Real change has to come to Washington to stop the revolving door and the power of money in the system. That is where I, as a lobbyist and other lobbyists, exercise real power and real control over Congress and other offices.
Does a public good factor into your equation to come out and talk about this now? Why are you doing this?
Well, it's mainly to try to make some recompense for the fact that I participated in a system that is very bad for the country, the special interest system where the powerful get things that other people don't get. It's the frustration for people that occupy Wall Street, the Tea Party, all over the country. People just can't stand what's happening in Washington, and they're right. And what I try to do in my book is show them exactly why they are frustrated. Frankly, I'll probably make them more frustrated when they read exactly what does. And they kept doing even the night I was indicted. And the night I pled. In fact, the night I was sentenced, they had fundraisers along those same lines that I was doing. So I think it's still going.
So essentially nothing's changed. Do you think it ever will? I mean, fundamentally change? I know you have some ideas. Putting them in place is a different story, obviously.
I think that's up to the American people. At some point, I think one sees with the Tea Party and with the Occupy Wall Street and other movements, people are just frustrated and fed up with all this, and at some point that will become a movement that will overthrow what's going on and stop it.
I cannot tell you how much I appreciate not only your coming on, but your candor. Before I let you go, Jimmy, just because what you're saying is so alarming and so concerning, and I think it's understandable that you say what you say. Somebody watching this program wants to address their energy. They've been informed by you, and they want to direct that energy to address the specific loophole that is corporations spending money unlimited, in secret, unlike a human lobbyist, which may be offensive to some, but at the very least you can see the person. Where do you direct your attention?
Call your member of Congress. Call your senator. Call the White House. Call the Chamber of Commerce. Call Emily's List. If you're a member of a labor union, call your labor union. Call your elected representatives and the people that represent you both publicly and privately and say to them, I don't want a single penny of my money. By the way, if you're a shareholder of a publicly traded corporation and you don't know that your corporation is spending tens of millions of dollars to go into these black holes, I can guarantee you, I bet you they are.